Hello and welcome to the newest episode of Diandra, the co-host. I am Diandra Reviews, and this episode is brought to you by DiandraReviewsItAll.com, where entertainment is reviewed for the light it gives. I do not understand why I keep on laughing when I say my own name. Maybe it's because, when do we ever actually say our own name? Never. It's like when somebody asks you, oh, can you spell out your name? You're like, I don't know, it's my name. Or is that just me? Are you saying I'm dumb? Okay, cool. Today, speaking of names, I have the honor and pleasure of interviewing for today's episode, Rudy Touzet. Yes, that's French, as he puts it. It's like saying Tuesday, but like with a little swing, Touzet. Anyway, he's super, super sweet, super calm, one of those people that he's just so measured, and he has a great voice, really powerful, and like a lot of vocalists who have a great range. I mean, he is a power vocalist for sure. I think for us, our journey, look at me adding myself. I don't know if you know this, but I studied opera, so I can sing. I really can. But for a lot of vocalists that can be considered the diva vocalist or can really give you a power belt and go across their range, I think some of the journeys we take as singers is trying to figure out how to show our range without it being overpowering, and we're just plugging 20 million notes. We've all seen that artist who's like, oh, yeah. And also trying to be emotionally honest. I think that's the great thing about having a really powerful range. When you sing to emotional truths, it just feels more beautiful and more potent, I would say. So, yeah, we discussed that because Rudy, as sweet and as loving as he is, he doesn't have too many relationships under his belt. And we discussed whether he's fallen in love, what it means to fall in love, and what he has learned from his few relationships and from dating in terms of learning how to receive as much as give, which is something that I'm definitely a journey on as I date post-pandemic, because we're not dating yet. I am not, which is something we discussed as well. No, COVID is still rampant. I'm not dating. I'm not doing hookups like that. That's crazy. This is a pandemic, people. But yeah, it's going to be weird going back into the dating world post-pandemic, because now we realize we are in a living petri dish, and then we have to deal with the fact that relationships make us grow, but when do we find the one that we want to grow with? Ooh, that's deep. Oprah, Oprah, Oprah. That was good. That was deep. But it is true. And we have a real blast talking about love, because who doesn't get into it when you talk about love, right? And writing love songs and trying to transfer that emotion into your singing voice with a level of power and authenticity that captures people, which he totally, totally does. And we talk about writing love songs, and we talk about everything, really. Particularly our fascination with Vix Vapor Rub. That's very important, and that is a secret weapon for all vocalists, especially ones who suffer from sinuses. But I'm going too far into the conversation. You've got to hear it. This is Diandra, the co-host. I am Diandra Reviews. Check out DiandraReviewsItAll.com for the latest reviews in entertainment, movies, music, films. Movies and films, that's the same thing. Artists' interviews, and just talking with people to discover the light that they have within themselves that they want to offer the world in terms of thoughtfulness, wisdom, fun, humor. It really is a great website. And Rudy Touzet is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful singer. And I'm so excited to have him on as my co-host in today's episode of Diandra, the co-host. Check it out. Yeah. Okay. Welcome, one and all, to a new episode of Diandra and the co-host, brought to you by Diandra Reviews It All, where I review new entertainment for the positive social commentary it is trying to give the world. Check it out at DiandraReviewsItAll.com. And today's co-host is Rudy Touzet. Yes. Rudy, introduce yourself.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for having me, Diandra. I'm Rudy Touzet. I'm a singer. I just released almost a month ago my new single for 2021, Fatal Attraction. I just released acoustic live performance of it. And yeah, uh, I'm excited to be here, talk to you, talk about all that. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
mean, it is like, did you understand the irony of saying fatal attraction and talking about love during COVID? Like the
yeah.
perspective of
It's
like, it is fatal attraction.
Yeah, and it's funny how that song, like the story behind that song, was from years ago. And then I actually came into the studio when we were first writing it. And I came in with nothing. I kind of got a couple beats from my producers, and they were like, "What do you think?" And I said, "There's definitely something between with one of them, which ended up being the Fatal Attraction beat." But I was like, "We need to fix it." And then they were like, "All right, come to the studio. We'll figure it out." And they were like, "So what do you have?" And I was like, "Uh, I have myself. I have my voice is warmed up, and that's all." So we kind of were just throwing each other different stories, and it's like, well, there was this I'm not sure why I'm sharing this, but there was this 4th of July party from a couple years ago, and it was I my friends had left me and I was all alone, and I ended up hanging out with this girl who was she was like twice my age, and she was the coolest person ever. It was fun just like having that night being with someone. And then my one of my producers, Simon, he goes, "That's almost like kind of like a fatal attraction." I go, "Yep, there we go. All right, let's start writing. That's the name of the song. Let's go towards that."
Like that Maroon 5 song when he dates like the older woman in the hotel, that kind of
Oh yeah.
vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit darker, a little bit more upbeat, but that was definitely I'm pretty sure that was one of the references. Yeah, but it's darker for me. It was between my other 3 songs that I'd put out. I just worked with them on I Don't Know, and that was kind of when I found the like Rudy Touzet voice that I was going for. The first 2 were kind of like, "Oh, this is catchy. Oh, this shows my range." And then I Don't Know was kind of a more this is all me now. So let's keep moving forward. So I guess I would say Fatal Attraction's more of like a mature version of I Don't Know. Kind of I know now what's happening. I now have a fatal attraction. I now kind of growing from that song.
Has it been hard finding your voice? Because you send me three topics. Well, technically four. You said love, music, COVID, ha ha. So we'll figure out what the ha ha is. That
All
was
it's all
rough.
funny right now. It's all a joke. But
And but yeah, has it been hard like trying to find your voice, especially because you have a really good voice. Like you, I saw
thank
your
you.
little live, your little riffs. You're like, oh,
Fun fact, I had an aggressive sinus infection. I came in and I was like, am I gonna sing this? Ended up sounding okay. I was like, this sounds better than I expected. Maybe I should put the audio out on Spotify and see what that does. And now we're here. But going back to your question,
well, before you
it,
move to the question, I would just want to say
mhm.
maybe you should get more sinus infections if that's the key. And I studied opera, and the secret for me, because I get a lot of sinus infections, my opera singer said put Vicks Vapor Rub in your nose every night before you go to bed. Rub it
Oh,
in your
that
chest.
if I opened up my little like cabinet in my bathroom, I think I have at least 4 different Vix Vapor Rubs that are one's like used, one is completely new. I go to bed just putting that on even when I'm not sick. It's life changing.
Yeah, yeah, and you feel it. Like one night without Vicks, I'm like, I'm dying. I feel like something has entered my chest. What's happening? Yeah, for sure.
It's the best cure. I'll have like a fever and I'm like, all right, Vix, here we go. Up on the nose, like my neck. And
Yeah, you just put some on your forehead too. Like when I have headaches, I'm like, let me just put some Vicks.
oh yeah, and it's like a moisturizer too, so you're getting the skincare routine too. Um, but yeah, no, love Vix. Yeah, I think I should start getting sick before I go perform. Just kidding. Terrible joke during a pandemic. I'm
Well,
gonna
it's a very Phoebe from Friends strategy. Like she needed to think Smelly Cat. If you've seen the show, she needed to get a cold.
for wait, Smelly Cat, which I've only
Uh,
seen a couple episodes. That was on my list before it left Netflix, I
okay,
think.
so you know how Phoebe was. Are you? Do you have you gotten the gist that Phoebe wants to be a singer?
Yes, yes, got the characters down.
So there's an episode where she gets a really bad cold, and suddenly, like she's a jazz singer. Like she has like this super sultry voice, and she's like, "Smelly cat, smelly cat, what are they feeding you?" And everybody's like, "Whoa!" Like, and then she loses the cold, and she's basically lost her spark and is trying to get sick again.
The persona left. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I that is definitely I think I'm pulling a Phoebe on that one. Yeah, for sure. But that was a I was exhausted. My voice was shot at some points. At the end of the once we finished it, I was like, all right, I gotta go run and get some tea. But ended up being working out.
Maybe, bringing it back to my question, maybe that it kind of makes me wonder if the key to being a great artist is kind of exhausting yourself. Like, not just talking about sickness, but like you had to do like two songs to finally land on Fatal Attraction. And I'm sure the first two, it's an exciting process, but it's a frustrating one because you're trying to find your voice, you're trying to impress everybody, but kind of impress yourself at the same time. Is there a level of like, I just got tired by the time I reached Fatal Attraction. Like I wanted something out.
Yeah, no, 100%. I um during finding that whole process, just one thing that I was struggling with was having the conversation of like, who is Rudy Touzet? There's Rudy Touzet, me doing my life, being a student, going living in Miami and doing all that. But then it's also like the fact that I'm doing music, I have to find that artist and find that artist in me and use that. And they can come together, but I felt like that wasn't working for me and I needed to find something for me and everyone. So it was weird because in the beginning, I was just like, I need to sing all the notes. I need to go through the whole piano, like the keyboard, and figure out which notes I can't reach and hit those notes in the songs. But then as soon as I realized I was like, I want to still tell a story. I still want to give them a piece of my life as well as what I want from my voice. And I think first meeting with my producers, I think they immediately got my vibe and knew how to take me there. And I think that was like meeting them as soon as we did, I don't know, I was like, all right, we're doing 20,000 more songs. We're going to do this and that. And we did have, I think we've done like 10 songs together, maybe 11. And yeah, no, it's finally there. And now I feel like it's a bit of a relief and also more fun rather than me stressing out about what I need to write about, what I need to say. Where it's like you can write about a 4th of July party and meeting someone and having that be a song.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like I totally understand what you mean. I think in the very beginning when I started, I always wrote songs like all my life. But when I started like producing and creating beats, I have to say that kind of thought I had to Whitney Houston the whole thing. Like, so I totally understand. Like, you feel like you have to show just how powerful you are all within 3 minutes and hit all these crazy notes. And then the
Hmm.
opposite is like I would have like these Whitney Houston moments where I would have these really quiet, really low songs where I didn't move my range within an inch. There was just like
Yeah,
no balance.
yeah. And then yeah, it's just finding that balance and like it comes naturally, which is weird. I was not expecting that. I when coming up with melodies and stuff and having the lyrics in my hands, it's you listen to the beat and it's how you feel like it should sound. It's not like, oh, you got to go straight into belting and hit a whistle tone at the end. It's
Yeah.
no. It's like you flow, it goes with the flow and then it ends up being a song.
Can you do a whistle?
Not right now as I'm literally choking,
Hey,
but in some
right now and
songs,
do that whistle.
let's uh but in some upcoming songs, there are some notes that we played it back and I was like, let's just keep that there because I've never done this before. And like that that's when it comes naturally. It's just during Adlibs when we're finishing the song, they're just like, all right, just do what you want. And they'll like play it on a loop for like 3 or 4 times. And I just go through different takes and just do whatever I think sounds right. And sometimes what I do is I close my eyes and I listen to the beat. And during that time I close my eyes, I don't know what I'm doing. Um, I could either crack, something will happen, and there are like moments during that where like, all right, let's comp this, get that out. But I literally have no idea what's happening when I do that, and
Yeah.
it ends up working well.
It's like this Holy Spirit moment where like the Holy Spirit drops in and you're just like singing for God and I don't know what I'm saying.
Exactly. I'm like, yeah, and then they're like, wait, that do that again, and I'm like, can you play it for me? I blacked out during that whole entire 30 seconds.
Yeah. I
But
kind of hate that though because there's sometimes when I do like a really, I hate it when it happens when I do a really great note or when I get like that wonderful lyric just as I'm going to bed and I'm like, I swear to God, I'm going to remember this. I need to sleep. Like it happens when you don't think. That's why I said
yeah.
exhausting and maybe exhaustion and sickness is necessary to have fun.
Oh yeah. You gotta improvise.
For sure, for
And
sure. Well, your next topic, but now that we've talked about music, your next topic was about love. What is it about love? Like, have you fallen in love already, or you're still waiting for that feeling?
um it's unclear. Uh
Ooh,
I
okay.
wanna say yes, but then when the bad times happen, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this. This never happened. I almost like feel I kind of take it as a joke and I'm like, ah, that was fun. On to working on myself now. Instead of like it's I guess I decided to wanted to talk about that because uh it's a weird topic. It's like a basic topic, but like everyone has their own.
I have to say it interested me because something that I wonder about, especially like I have friends who have dated multiple guys, and I think about their experiences, and I'm wondering is the is the one you can say you're actually in love with? Like, are all the
Mhm.
other relationships kind of testers in a way? Like I loved them, but if I was in love, I would have stayed.
I mean, there's different circumstances when it comes to that,
Yeah.
especially with like cheating and betraying and all that. But yeah, I feel like you mature from that, you grow, you hurt. It's not just love, it's a bunch of emotions. So when it comes down to that, I feel like you do know when you're in love or you have that feeling inside where it's working. And that doesn't mean like that's the one. Like you can still have that feeling. And which is also weird because everyone just expects like when you're in love, that's the one forever. And it's not. Um, but it's I don't know, it's just such an interesting thing for me. Like when I'm writing about love, I mean the past songs um that we've written in 2021, we wrote a couple songs for an EP. It was interesting for me because when I was writing, there was like different parts of love. Like at first it was me questioning love, being like, is this thing even real? Like is there's this song coming out called Is It Me? And basically what I'm talking about is I don't know if I'm doing this wrong. Like, is love a pain in the ass, or is it me who's just complicated and can't seem to figure it out yet? But growing from that and going into other songs we've written, it's weird because I'm just talking about different segments about it. It's like that feeling that you get when everything, like that honeymoon stage, and then also the heartbreak stage, and also the in the middle, like what's going on, like getting answers, like this is working out, but like, are we going to take it further? Like, where it's all these questions, which is interesting, but also so irritating to think about. But
Yeah, because
uh,
they're almost answerless. Like they don't, or the answer can change. So the minute
mhm,
you land on one thing, there's a feeling of like now there's a next level of like deep philosophies and life lessons that I have to learn. Like there's never a feeling of I landed in a place. You know,
yeah.
I landed in a state of being, but I never landed in this place where I don't have to go anywhere. Like there's nothing more to discover, which is exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. And, but at the same time, just knowing everyone has their different side of love and everyone has their own story. So it's not like they're going to get the answer you want or get the answer in general, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like going, especially with going through a heartbreak, you're like, I'm not going to get answers from them. They just ended things because they did and they don't want to talk about it. They're just like, all right, we're done.
yeah.
Have fun, enjoy life.
I have to say, my best friend, which I was taken aback, but I also secretly admired it. She texted all her exes and asked, why did we end? Like, what was up with that? And it was a few years after they ended, but I
Yeah.
always admired that she did that. And I think because she did it a few years after they ended and they still had some level of friendship, like she's a sweetheart. Nobody ends badly with her. She's one of those people that you kind of say, like, if you hate her, it's because you're a hateful person. Like she's so
Yeah.
super sweet. And it was I think because she did it a few years later, their answers were really mature, and there was kind of this
Yeah.
mutual like, one of them was like, I just wasn't ready. I didn't know how. I thought I was ready, and I didn't know how unready I was. And you were so clear.
Yeah.
Like now go
That
on.
damn props to her for doing that. I feel like I would do that, but at the same time, knowing myself, absolutely not. I'd be like, because then they'd give me an answer, and that'd be the first time I get an answer, and I just want more. I'd be like, why? This
Yeah,
specific moment, this. And I feel like I would go crazy and then scare them off again, you know?
you would
When
think.
I just like take it as my like how I see it and just leave it like that, how it was.
Like I know,
Yeah.
like sometimes I ask a question, but I want the answer that I already said in my head. So I'm like, don't even.
Yeah.
I'm really just asking for like validation. I want them to say, no, you were perfect. It was me. I was a jerk. So I totally understand your fear of asking, and maybe there's just a little more growing to do before you could even ask. Because I have to say, I think it gave her more peace and
Hmm.
I think it's important when you're going into a new relationship to ask that question because you don't want to drag your other relationships' instability into your new one.
Yeah, exactly. And there's
So,
always room for growing too. Always room. So, being 21, I feel like I have a couple more years to even like
yeah,
I still got to experience the love that I'm trying to find and get on that level.
Are you tempted now to text an ex? Like,
No, I'm just here to write about them for now. They can text me after being like, great song, and be like, it's about you.
yeah,
So,
you like that song? It's all about you, you narcissist. Of course you liked it.
yeah, yeah, literally.
But I
That's,
will. I do have one question for you. I'm curious. Looking at love, you said you haven't fallen in love too many times, or you're still trying to figure out if it was love. Was there
yeah.
something about you that surprised you when it came to relationships? Like you're like, I never knew I was like that until I had a partner.
Yeah. Um, I feel like I'm gonna like talk shit about myself right now, but usually in the beginning when I'm interested, I kind of go all out. I'm like, I need this person to get like see that I'm interested in stuff and kind of just like let them know. And then let's say that works out, then I kind of like tone it back, being like, all right, I was too much in the beginning. Let's calm down. But one thing that I have noticed is that I feel like I have to kind of give it all in the beginning just to like give them a taste of what I'm like, even though I'm not like that, if that makes sense.
Kind of like the way I'm interpreting it is that like you dive into the relationship and you go through this weird like let me impress you with all that I am, and in an odd way
Hmm.
become someone you're not.
Yeah, like sending flowers and stuff on a random Tuesday or something like that. I I'm just like, all right, let's tone it back. We're like 2 weeks into just like the talking situation. Let's relax, Rudy. I'm still learning on opening up a little bit more to people and kind of just like explaining what I'm feeling right then and there rather than surprising them.
Yeah.
Or,
Well, that could be a song right there. Let me explain, and then you're like, let me tell you how I feel.
I'm writing that down. You, the thing, someone's like, you should write a song about that. And I'm like, well, it's going on my notes right now.
Whipped out the phone. You're like, let me just explain.
How I
Please put
feel.
me as a note. Like this was inspired by an interview with Diandra. Use it all. Diandra helped me with this. Yeah.
Diandra reviews it up. I kid you not, I'm writing it down right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a good song, and I don't think I think you're totally relatable. I don't know if I kind of going back to what we were talking about in terms of relationships, especially like the first few ones before you find the one. I think
Hmm.
part of that, I call them testers. Part of their testing is communication, but not just communication with your partner, communication with yourself. Like
Yeah.
I, I think the most frustrating thing with me is when I think that I'm being clear and they're like not interpreting it, and it's just like I don't know any other words.
Oh, yeah.
Other words.
Yeah. And you just like also have to make sure that you're ready too.
Mm.
Because you could just be like, oh, they're interested in me. Let's just like book it and like do it right now. Like all this stuff. But you also like mentally, physically, like it's not just like you're texting someone, you're seeing someone, you're being with someone, you got to like communicate back, which is something I'm learning too. I kind of just go into things very fast sometimes and got to make sure I can breathe first and talk to myself real quick before I get into them.
No,
Wait, that sounded really weird. I'm so sorry. Not get into them. Like, you know what I meant. Uh,
no. I mean, I understand how you feel, especially because I'm trying to learn not to. Nobody's perfect. Don't dismiss somebody for their imperfections, and don't run away. I think that's
yeah.
kind of, especially if you. I understand what you meant of like that beginning of like submerging yourself in a relationship and trying to impress them, even though you have sinuses with flowers. Totally know what you feel. And that leads us to our kind of weird final topic, which is COVID, haha.
It's not like anyone else is talking about this.
I know,
Uh,
I know. But I have
uh,
to say, when you send it to me, I kind of thought of like like you were like, love music, COVID, haha. And then I was like, this is a song. This is like a club track, like dun, dun, walking in the club one day. I saw him coughing my way. He was looking really fine, but I think
we
he
have
was
to get to the
already.
studio.
I know.
You're just throwing all these ideas, and I'm like, shit, I should be
No, it's that.
uh, on my way to text Luke and Simon. But uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
You had like even the love music COVID. There's so many. Listen, I've been songwriting all my life, so I'm quick with it. But I thought that there was something about that felt musical, especially because I don't know what music venues or going to concerts is going to feel like after when everything starts up.
Yeah.
It almost feels not simply because like we went through this health crisis, but I kind of am like, don't you feel like there's a level of like people are gross? Like I
Yeah.
like people I'm like nobody washes their hands anymore, or like people who don't wear masks. I'm just like, do you just want to cough on everybody?
I literally right next to me. It's this and my Claritin. So watch out. It's weird because I haven't even thought about concerts. And I mean, when it comes to people talking about concerts, my biggest thing that I'm excited for is like going on YouTube and seeing which James Corden live performance or Jimmy Fallon like recorded live performance and see what they did visually as well as performing wise.
Mm.
Like that's what I get excited for now. Like I think Billie Eilish just did like a whole live stream concert of her tour. And I was just like, that's sick. Like
Yeah.
this is cool. It's just like it's weird to think how that's just even past my head, concerts and all that. Cause I don't think there's gonna be concerts till like end of 2022, maybe 2023, just for precautions.